In this video, I'm going to show you how to use a micrometer. Most of the micrometers that you'll be using will measure down to 1/1000th of an inch. As you can see on this one, it measures down to 1/10 of a thousandth, or 4 decimal places. And on this particular one, we'll be measuring between 0 and 1 inch. Before we learn how to actually take a reading, let's go ahead and identify all the parts. This right here is called the anvil. It is a stationary piece. This right here is called our frame. And on this frame, it has given us this plastic pad to hold it by. And that's important because if you're holding this by the frame itself, the heat from your hands is enough to warp your measurement by about 1/1000th of an inch. So if you're looking for real accuracy, make sure you're holding it by the plastic pad. This is our lock. So if you're having trouble taking a reading on whatever it is that you're measuring, you can lock it, take the tool off, and then get your reading. This is called our spindle, the piece that actually moves in and out. This right here is our sleeve, and this piece that rotates is called our thimble. Now, micrometers also have a ratchet stop, and most of the time they're located right here. On this particular one, it's located here. The point of the ratchet stop is to make sure you don't crank down too tight on whatever you're measuring. So if I'm trying to make large adjustments, I'll spin from back here. But then when I get really close to measuring something in here so I don't over tighten it, you'll hit this and it ratchets. Okay, let's learn how to read this thing. So as I said before, this micrometer will measure down to 1/10 of a thousandth. But for the beginning of this video, we're gonna treat it as a normal micrometer that only measures down to 1/1000th. And then in the end, we'll come back and figure out how we can get down to those tenths. So we're gonna crank this all the way down first so that we can understand each increment on the thimble. So you'll notice when the 0 on the thimble lines up with this line on the sleeve, then we're completely closed over here. If we start backing out the thimble, that would be exactly 1/1000th of an inch, 2/1000ths of an inch, 3, 4, 5/1000ths of an inch. And if I make a full rotation of the thimble, there's exactly 25 marks, which would be 25/1000ths. And then we're back to 0. So once we pass that point, you'll notice that they throw a mark here on the sleeve that represents our 25/1000th mark. If we make another rotation around, same thing will happen. That will represent our 50 mark, 75 mark, and then when we've rotated around 4 times, they put a 1 on the sleeve to represent 100,000ths or 0.1. Okay, so first mark on the sleeve, 25/1000ths, 50/1000ths, 75/1000ths, 100, 125, and it just keeps going up. And then as you can see, the thimble is, each increment is 1/1000th of an inch, 0.001. Okay, so let's go ahead and just find a random measurement here, and we'll see if we can read it. So our first decimal place is 3, right? We know we're measuring between 0 and 1, so we're gonna be 0 point, and then we see the 3 on there, so we got a 3, and we have 3 dashes between each representing 25, so we got 25, 50, 75, so 375/1000ths. But we also have this 5/1000ths on the thimble, so we'll add that to this, and our total measurement is 0.380, or just 0.38. Okay, let's try one more. How about that? So we got our 4 showing, so we go 0.4. We have our 50 mark showing, so we know we have at least 0.450, but we also have 16 increments on our thimble showing, so we take that and add them together, and we get 0.466. Now, what if we were part way between the 16 and the 17 on our thimble right here? Well, this particular micrometer, which is called a Vernier micrometer, measures down to the 1/10 of a thousandth. we can actually figure out how far between those two marks we are. So we still read it the exact same way, but now we're going to add in our last decimal place. So see this scale that's on the top of our sleeve? What we're gonna do is we're gonna see if any of those lines line up with a line on our thimble. And it looks like to me that 5 lines up right there, which means we're gonna add a 5 to the end of our measurement. Okay? So I have just a couple practice problems I wanna do with you here on a worksheet. And this is a Vernier micrometer laid out flat. So for now, let's just forget the vernier. We'll treat it like a normal micrometer, and then in the end, we'll add in this part right here. So again, we see our 4 is showing. So we're gonna write 0.4. We have our 50 mark showing right there. And we have 21 on the thimble. So we're gonna take 50 plus our 21, and we got 471. But this measures down to 4 decimal places, so how far between the 21 and the 22 are we? And it looks like, again, our 5 line lines up. So we're actually 4715. Let's try this one right here. So we see our 2, we'll write that, 0.2. We got our 25, 50, 75 mark showing. 75 plus 15, 16, 17. So you got 75, 85, 92 right there. So you got 292. And then how far between the 17 and 18 line are we? And we come up here, it looks like the 8 lines up right there. So we're just gonna add an 8. Let's do one more. So we see that our 3 is showing. There's no lines after the 3 showing, so we're just gonna add in just what's on the thimble. We got 10, 11, 12, but we're not exactly on the 12, we're partway between, so how far? And it looks like, again, that 8 line lines up, so we're just gonna add that on the end. That's how you read a micrometer.